Patching back to a data source is a necessary requirement of most Power Apps, and so why not give a little more attention to the user experience of saving? Users are experienced to a variety of different save methods these days. There's, of course, the autosave, or clicking on a save button, and then different kinds of confirmations. Maybe it's a pop-up window with a confirmation, or it takes you to an entirely different screen, or maybe in the case of autosave, a little checkbox shows up next to the form field that has just been completed. One of my favorite ways to handle saving is autosave, leveraging the on-change event provided by Power Apps. And this is great for things like toggle buttons and checkboxes and radio buttons, where committing the change is a matter of clicking and releasing the mouse button or tapping in a mobile experience. As soon as you tap, as soon as you release that mouse button, on-change fires, and you are able to commit that change in real time and maybe provide some kind of a little animated checkbox that shows up next to the input control showing that that change has been committed. But the issue comes with text input controls. Unlike in JavaScript, where you have the input event, which monitors any kind of a change to any kind of input in real time, Power Apps only will fire on change on text input controls when the input control has lost focus, meaning that the user has actually clicked away onto something else other than that input control. Well, that click away could be the click of the back button or closing your window, and then there is no opportunity to actually commit that save. So if you have an input form that uses text input, I still find that the best way to commit those changes is with a good old tried and true save button. But we don't have to do it the old school way. We don't have to provide a confirmation pop-up that requires them to click a button to confirm or to make it go away. We don't have to take them to a new screen or a new page. We can provide all of the feedback of the save experience right within the save button itself. It's not hard to do. It's actually really simple. We're going to do it together in this short tutorial. Be sure to follow the link in my description to go to my GitHub. You can download the solution or the MS app file right there. Follow along and let's learn together. I hope that you are using these tutorials to make some real positive improvements to your Canvas app design. Last week's video was on styling our input controls, and one user wrote in the comments, "Thank you so much for this. My home screen is now styling." Well, yours could too if you will subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay up to date with these tutorials. I'll have a new one out next week to help you level up your UI UX design in Power Apps, Canvas apps. All right, let's get going on this one. I'm Ryan Johnston. Let's get creating. Okay, so as usual, let's begin with the end in mind. We have this save button and we want to click on it, see that it is saving, and then once the saving is complete, it gives us feedback that the save has happened successfully, and then we're off to whatever is next. That's up to you. Maybe you navigate to a new screen, maybe this input card disappears. The specific action doesn't matter. But the point is that we save, are told that the saving is happening, and then we get confirmation that the save has completed right in the button. And so let's get to work on this. I will mention just a couple of UI UX tips. It's a great idea to go ahead and download these solutions, because check out this input control. I've actually created a custom component here which uses a container with a text field inside of it, and then this little icon over on the right, and then with this text that covers over the top of this container. And notice how where the text shows up, it blocks out the border. Now, this is not a perfect solution, but what I've actually done is I've set the width of this text control to be based on the number of characters in the actual heading. It's not perfect because we're dealing with we're not dealing with a fixed width font here, but it kind of gets the idea and creates this nice little look. I repeat it throughout. You could use a gallery for this. There's so many different ways to do it, but I wanted to just show you, along with the save button, this kind of unique way to create your input controls. Again, it looks very un-Power Apps-esque, which is usually the design. That's the idea. Like, this whole channel is built around the idea of how to create Power Apps that don't look like Power Apps, if you catch my drift. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. Let us hide the cheater and let's go ahead and start creating our own. So we are going to start with creating a container control to house this fun little button. And we are going to, we'll just manually set our width here to match these other things that we've got going. Let's see, we'll match the height to the height of these little components, which are 85 high. So let's change this to 85. And then, you know, you could match up your width and height, your width and XY to these if you were being responsive. We're not going to worry about that right now. We do have a design here where we have rounded edges all the way around. So to create a perfectly round edge, we have to set our border radius to whatever half of the height is. That way the radius goes all the way around halfway, and then the next one starts coming around the other half of the way. So our border radius is going to have to be self.height divided by 2. And we're going to have to provide that to the radius top left, radius top right, radius bottom left, and radius bottom right. Okay? And now then we will have a lovely border radius once we give this thing some color. So we are going to use a custom color in here. We're going to use whatever this blue is. We're filling it with 1741FF is our hex code. 1741FF. Whoops, I'm clicking buttons that I shouldn't. Let's get out of here. I'm trying to get back to the screens. Okay, there we go. Fill color, what do we say? 1741FF. All right, we're now matching up nicely, and we're going to have no shadows. We're going with a kind of a clean, no shadow look here. Again, just UI UX tip. You want the things that you want to have most prominent be the lightest color. So in this case, we've got our actual form is white against a gray background. You want your brightest color to be the thing that pops. And then you use shadows to also set an item off the page. And so we want this whole input field to pop off the page, hence the reason it has a shadow. Now, I'm not going to go overboard and put shadows on all of these controls. You could a little bit, but the idea is to use shadows sparingly and use them to make an item pop. That's the idea. So anyhow, just a little extra tip there. So we've got our button control. Now then, what we want to do is we're going to put an icon here on the left, and then a title on the right. All right, so let's go ahead and rename this container to Save Button, and we're gonna cut this and paste it into our main container here. And then we're gonna move it down to the bottom visually in the tree view. Now I'm gonna do this by hitting the control button and the left square bracket key, and that's how that moves up and down. If you press the right square bracket with control, it'll go up. If you push the left square bracket and control, it will go down. So now we have our save button, and let's move it on down so it lines up nicely with everything there. It looks like we need to get a little bit wider. Okay, and there we go. I'm gonna get these all now equally distributed, so I'm gonna click on them all, right click, and say distribute vertically. Oh, nailed it in the first try. Sometimes I get it right, but very rarely. That was a fluke. Now then, let's add in our placeholders for our little icon, for our save icon, and then our label for what this button is going to say when it's doing stuff. And so we're going to insert an image here, and oh, you know what? I'm not even in the control. We're going to cut, and then here's our save button, and I'm going to paste it in there. We're going to say that our height is, let's do parent.height minus 20, because we want it to be smaller. And then, because we're going to make it square, we'll set the width to self.height. That way we're not calculating both. And if we change one, we don't have to change the other because it's self-referencing. We center it vertically, which again is that formula that you should do in your sleep, and that is parent.height minus self.height divided by 2, and that is our vertical. And then for our X horizontal, you know what I want to do is I kind of want to place this halfway between where the radius of the circle comes up and then stops. And so basically that's half of the radius. So we're going to set the X to to parent dot border, radius, what is the radius? Radius, it doesn't matter, they're all the same. Radius bottom left divided by 2. And that's gonna kind of push it over there nicely on that side. And we're gonna roll with that and see what we think of that. And let's go ahead and name it. We're gonna call this image save status. And then notice how it disappeared as soon as I changed the name. So you might wonder, why is there a screen 2? It exists for one purpose and one purpose only. It's a Power Apps bug. Oftentimes if you move an image, change an image, rename an image, it suddenly disappears. And the only way to get it back is to go to a different screen and come back. Well, if you're in a one-screen app, you have to create a second screen purely to be able to go away and then come back. And boom, there's our image again. No idea why it does that. Microsoft, tell me. So we've got our image in place. Now let's go ahead and throw our label in here. And we'll add a label, text label, and we're gonna, we'll just say, you know, save me now. That'll be our starting text. We'll have some fun with that. And then we're gonna go to Lato. One of these days, I'm gonna learn exactly how to say that font before I do one of these videos so I don't sound like an idiot. Somebody put in the comments, like in phonetics, how do you pronounce it? Lato? Lato? Like there's one T, so I'm thinking Lato? Lato? I don't know. Tell me in the comments, what should it be? And we're gonna make it white text. Let us move this over. In fact, let's just use our relative control. So we're gonna say X is image save status dot X plus image save status dot width plus 10. And that'll be where it starts. And then its width is going to be parent dot width minus self dot X. And that will take it all the way to the edge. And then we want to pull it away from that border. So we'll just do minus parent dot radius bottom left. Okay. And then that will fill it nicely. We're going to center it in there. And there is our input text control ready to go. Okay. Now then, right now, this is not a clickable thing. So we're going to need to create, well, first of all, we need to create a name, label save status. Whoops, I hit captions there somewhere. Label save status. Now we're going to create a button overlay. So I like to create these overlays. We can't, you know, these buttons, none of these controls have like an on mouse over kind of a hover. There is a way to fake it. I do have a video about how to kind of fake hovering using PCF control. I'll link that up there somewhere. And you can watch that tutorial. But what we're gonna do in the meantime is to fake it, we're gonna put a button over the top of it, and we are going to remove the text from it. We're gonna put X as 0 and Y at 0 to lock it up in the corner, and then we're gonna set it to the full width of the parent. So parent dot width, and then also parent dot height. Dot height, there we go, and that's gonna fill. Now, we do not want this to have any color to it, so we're gonna make it transparent. We are going to set our border of 0. We could set our border radius to match up, but I don't mind if our click goes all the way to the edge, that's fine. So I'm not gonna mess with the border radius right now. We don't care about the font because there's nothing to it. And then what we need to do is we need to go into focus border thickness and make that 0. We don't want any kind of a focus border, but what we do want is a hover color and a pressed color. So we're gonna start with our hover, not our hover color, our hover fill. It needs to be transparent, so we can't use color fade. Well, we could with an RGBA. The key is we wanna just use an RGBA, and I'm not even gonna use the formula. We're just going to go in here and we are, oh, what happened? We are going to go in here and use our hover fill this thing. And we're just going to give it like a gray, a grayish color, and we are going to make it mostly transparent. So we're going to go over the top of that to kind of keep this. I'm holding Alt down as I do that, of course. And let's make it maybe a little bit more transparent. Okay, that's cool. All right, I like that. Our pressed color, I don't like it going all white. We're just gonna make it a slightly darker version of our hover color. So to do that, we will go over here to pressed fill, and we're going to say self, we're going to go color fade self.hover fill and do like negative 20%. Let's try that, and then we click, and let's go a little bit more, maybe negative 40%. That's good. I like that. Okay, good. So we basically now have, we've got our image, we've got our text, and we have our button. So here's what happens. We begin the form with the opportunity to save. In my demo, what do we call that? We said save changes. So let's go ahead and do that. Ooh, notice I made the font a little bigger. I like that. Oh, button. Let's change this. But save status. We're just going to call it but save. And then for this label, let's just going to go, what did I call it? Oh, my brain's like ADD. Save changes. Great. So we're going to call this thing label status. We'll just say save changes. We're going to change this in a second, so it doesn't even really matter what we put here. And let's make that font size 24. Okay. I like that. Save change, changes, whatever. We're about to change it all. So what we want to do is we want to be able to have 3 states here. We're going to have a save state, or like a needs to be saved state, where you can click on it and tell it to save. We want another state where it is in the process of being saved. And then we need a third state where it has been saved. And so what let's do is we're going to go into our app on start here, and we're going to go ahead and create a save status variable called var save status. And we're going to go ahead and initialize it as saved. So that means basically it's been saved, and now we can move on, now we can save it again or resave it. Basically, saved means ready. You know what? That's actually a better way to do it. I'm not going to change this because the demo is set for it to work with saved instead of ready, but I think ready would actually be better. It just means like it's ready to be saved again. So let's call it ready for kicks. In fact, we're going to go ahead and do it. I know it's going to break my app, and it'll break yours if you're using the demo, but that just makes more sense. See, every time I do these demos, it always improves, and usually I go back and just re-record it so I sound smarter, but we're just going to just roll with it. So we're going to say var save status ready. That's how we start things. So if the status is ready, we want this label to say save change, and we want this image to be a floppy disk icon. So what I've done is in my named formulas, what am I doing? App named formulas. We have a number of SVG icons. Now, if you want to grab a hold of these icons, again, download the solution file, and all of the icon text is there. I grabbed all these icons. I love this. This is a free icon pack in Figma. There's 1,700 icons. I think they're like really nice and stylish. And what's cool is they've got great names. So like you can come up here and just like search save, and look, there's that floppy disk. So that's the floppy disk that I'm actually using. I just make it white instead of black. And the way that you access these things is you can just so notice how I double clicked here. If you click on it, you're going to get a frame around it. But if you double click, it'll take you into the full icon itself. That way you're not, for scaling purposes, you don't have something extra. Right click on it and go to copy as SVG. Okay, so you hit copy, and then you go into your Visual Studio Code, and you paste it in. And you'll find that you've got a ton of double quotes. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to hit Control H, which is my search and replace. I'm going to find double quotes, and I'm going to replace them with single quotes. And we're going to click Replace All. And that gets it all prepared. Now, for our purposes, we want a white fill on these. And so we can say under fill here, we can say white, which is hashtag FFFFFF. And then I believe there's also a fill here in the SVG itself, FFFFFF. Now then it's going to import white. So we copy all of that, copy, and then we're going to paste it into our named formulas, which you're just going to have inf icon user equal, and then in double quotes, paste in your SVG icon. Be sure that you end it with a semicolon. So that's how we've got all of our icons. Again, I have a whole tutorial on using SVG icons in your Power App. So that will be linked wherever it gets linked. So we've got all of our icons squared away. And so now then let's go back over to our image. And in the actual image property here, we have to start with this code that tells us that tells Power Apps what kind of text it's about to receive as an image, and then put it inside the encode URL. So I'm just going to copy and paste that right now, and paste that in. And so then inside encode URL, we could just tell it we're going to give it this save icon. But the thing is, we're going to change this out depending on what's going on. So this is a perfect opportunity to use a switch statement. We could use nested if statements, but switch is so much easier. We're gonna basically watch this variable var save status, and if the status is ready, then we want it to be inf icon save, okay? And if it is, and we'll go ahead and close that so it will work straight away. We do have to give it an else. Let's give it another choice. If it is saving, we're going to tell it that it is inf saving. And then if it's not one of those two, then that means that we're in a confirmed status, because that's the only other status we're going to use. And we're going to call it inf icon confirmed. Okay? And so now then, we're ready to go. It's showing that it is checked and saved right now because we have not fired onStart yet to set this. So let's go ahead and fire an app onStart. And we want it to start as ready, and so there we go. That icon is too big for my tastes, so let's bring it down a little bit. We set our height, let's do -35. There we go, I like that. I think it's too far left, so let's actually, we had it positioned to radius bottom left divided by 2. Let's just do radius bottom left. Okay, that's much better. And again, since we set our label X and width relative to the save status, when I changed that bit, it went ahead and moved save change over. That's why so much of the time I set all of my heights and widths and stuff relative to other things, so that when I decide I want to tweak it and change my mind, I don't have to go redo everything because I've hard-coded it in. Another little tip there. Okay, so this is how we want things to start. Now, we're going to go in here to save, and once again, go into our image property and look at we're going to grab this switch statement, and I'm going to copy it because we're going to use it very similarly over here in label save status. And we're going to go to the text property, and we're going to paste that in, and we don't want all of this inf icon save. We want to say if it's ready, we want it to say save changes. If it's saving, we want it to say saving ... And then if it is confirmed, or basically anything else, we're going to say saved, ! And then our quote. So the idea is, once we click save, we want to change that status to saving. So let's do it. We click on our button, we go up here to on select, and the first thing that we're going to do is set var save status to saving. And then that's it. So let's click on it, and boom, saving. Now, this little animated loader, I just downloaded it on the web. There are some great resources. Like, here's one. This is not the one I use, but uiball.com/LDRS. This guy's created some really nice little loaders that you can grab for free. In fact, there's one very similar to the one that we're using, but they're all free, and they can be downloaded from his GitHub, and then you can recolor them, make them however you want. And so these are some great little options. Find one that fits the style of what you're doing, and no reason to reinvent the wheel there. So this is what happens when it's saving. Now, it actually has to do something and then revert to saved. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say set saving, and then we're going to do our patch, whatever that is. So, this is where you would actually get your work done. You would actually, complete the form field, do what you're going to do. That's not really important to us. We're going to comment that out for the moment. But know that this is the spot where you do the patching. And then once it's completed patching, then we're going to set our status back. var save status is going to be confirmed. So let's do this again. Of course, it's going to happen very fast. And now we go to saved, And then we want it to sit there for a second and go back to the save status of ready. Okay, so now then when we do it, it's all gonna happen. What do we do? Var save, oh, we gotta add our semicolon there. Okay, now it's all gonna happen instantly and it's gonna take us right back to save changes. So how do we do this now where we get some pauses in here, particularly if you're saving a form like this, and let's say you're saving it to Dataverse or something that's, you know, hyperscale cloud, like it's gonna happen instantly. So even if it's instant, in this kind of event, you want there to be like a 1 second delay. So we could use like a timer control or something that on the timer end, then it changes the status of the variable, but then I don't like that because then you have to hide a timer on there, you're going to multiple places. I really like a nice clean on select where it goes from one item to the next, to the next, to the next. And a really easy way to do this, while it might not seem like the easiest, the best way and the fastest way, in my opinion, is to create a really simple flow. So we're gonna go in here to the flow, we're gonna say add flow, create new flow. We're gonna call it delay 2, we'll just create a blank one here, and we're gonna call it delay 2. And we're gonna have an input called delay time, and we're going to say enter a delay in seconds. You don't even have to do all this, it's gonna be so quick. We're gonna say new step, and we're gonna call it delay. Right there. We're gonna set it to seconds. The count is going to be delay time. Okay, now then we need to respond back to our Power App, or it will just go on and not wait for the flow to complete. So we're just gonna say respond to Power Apps or flow. Doesn't even matter what we kick back, we just have to kick back something. So we're just gonna say complete, and then yes. And we'll say true, whatever. It literally does not matter. It just has to send something back to make Power Apps wait for it to complete. So we've saved, we're done, let's get out of there. And now then we go back to our button, and we're gonna say delay2.run, and we're going to encapsulate our form entry in a value just to make sure that it sends over an integer for the number of seconds that we want this timer to run. And that is going to be that form field, which in our case is com input timer dot form field. Remember, this is a custom component, and so I've got a custom property on it called form field, which is an output property of whatever was entered there. And now then, when we click on it, we should get in this case, a 2-second delay, during which time we see it say saving, and then it will go right to confirmed. And in fact, let's knock out ready at the moment, so we just see confirmed at the end of it. So here we go, 1001, 1002, and done. There we go, saved. Now, we want saved to show for like, let's say 1 second, until it reverts back to where you can save it again. And so what we'll do here is we will take our little delay function and we'll put it in, but this time we're gonna hard code it in. We're gonna say we just want a 1 second delay before it goes back to ready. So here we go, saved, saving, and now it says saved, and now back to ready. If you had a situation where your patch was, you know, a really long form and you knew it was gonna take like several seconds, and you didn't need to put some kind of a fake, you know, saving thing in there, then you don't use the delay for this. But you're going to need the delay no matter what to give that confirmed for a second before you're done. And I think that putting a delay with a run is way easier than like firing some, you know, setting a variable that starts a timer, and then at the end of that timer, then it sets the variable status back to ready. Of course, then you're gonna deal with the disabled state of this button. It's all a mess. Create a simple, you know, 3-step, it's really 2 steps, a trigger and 2 actions flow right there in your app that sets a delay. Now you've got this really simple function where anytime you want to delay for anything, you just put a second in there and off you go. But this is the basic concept. Create the states that you need, use switch statements to show what you want shown depending on the state, and then use a delay as necessary to walk the user from one step to the next as you go through the confirm process. And so that's it. We get in here, we click, we have our save confirmation, it is saved, and then we are back to normal. Now I'm going to do another tutorial coming up here in the near future on auto saving, where we are able to do a save when we basically use any kind of an input control other than text field. We can pretty much consistently know that we can capture those on-change events in real time when the change is made and commit those changes straight to our data source and provide feedback. So we'll cover that in a future tutorial. Be sure that you subscribe. Hey, we are on the cusp of 1,000 subscribers on the channel, and I would just love it if you contributed to getting us over the edge. And I think at the end of the day, it's not about me and my channel. It is about you growing in your skills and your abilities as a UI UX designer using Power Apps. You can make beautiful Power Apps, but we got to work at it, and I will continue to crank out the content and provide you guys with value. And I hope that you will provide me with value by commenting, letting me know what you want me to cover, and then be sure to subscribe. Share this with your friends. I'm on LinkedIn, would love to connect with you there. And again, I am Ryan Johnson. Now you go out and create something amazing.